as we continue this dream series. And you've heard it said before, but I'm going to say it again. There might be somebody who's here for the first time today. So when we're talking about a dream, the question is, what is a dream? And we've been saying that a dream is a work assignment that is offered to us by God. And the dream that God gives you can be pointed in the direction that is most consistent with what you need to have fulfilled in your soul. So your dream might be about finances, while somebody else's dream might be about relationships. Your dream might be for health and fitness, and somebody else's dream might be for more family and leisure time. Your dream might be for success in your business or work, and somebody else's dream might be to fulfill their life's purpose. There is no wrong dream. There is only the right person for the right dream. Is that right? And so when we accept the dream, we also must accept the labor. Repeat after me. When I accept the dream, I must also accept the labor. My dream, my work. And so there are, as we've been saying, some very specific steps that we must take in order to live the life of our dreams. Anybody interested in living the life of your dreams? And so the steps that we have been covering is the step of the desire, recognizing that that which we desire has first began as a seed in the God self. And then we have to make a decision that is consistent with the fulfillment of the dream. And then we have to ask in power, sort of claiming that which we know is already ours. And then we have to allow the magnetizing power of love to draw and attract and bind to us the fulfillment of the dream even before it shows up. How many of you know sometimes you have to send your love out to get your blessing? And then you have to walk by faith and not by sight. But then we have to also take some action. Nothing happens unless you take action. And so you have to work. And then there is the step of thought, recognizing that every thought, say every thought. Every thought must find alignment with and be consistent with the fulfillment of our dream. And so we must be able to redirect our thinking capacity so that our thoughts are consistent with the fulfillment of our dreams. And then we have to speak the word on last week, we said, so that the words that we speak are not returning to us void, but they are accomplishing where we send them to. And so our step today is the listen step. In the words of Khaled, listen. If you don't get it, don't worry about it. By show of hands, how many of you have heard the saying, listening is a skill? Listening is a skill. Listening is one of the major pieces in the process of communication. And we recognize that communication is the process whereby meaning is produced, maintained, repaired, and transformed. And so whenever we find ourselves with poor communication or poor listening, whenever our listening is poor, hear me, whenever my listening is poor, my communication or my communion is broken. And so I want to make sure that I'm able to listen so that I am not having a breakdown in my communication, yeah? Now, I'm gonna say some things, but let the record show that I know that you are a unique, unrepeatable, and unbeatable spiritual being. This is what I know about you. But if you're like most people, and I know you're not like most people, you think 4 times faster than the person you are talking with speaks. That means you're probably thinking about something else even while the communion is taking place. If you're like most people, you listen for facts rather than ideas. If you're like most people, you avoid listening to the things that would be too difficult to understand or execute. If you are like most people, when you listen, you're often distracted by the external sounds and sights. Now, I know that's not you, event that you know somebody like that, the way they listen to people is often the same way they listen to God. Because the way you do anything is the way you do everything. Are you with me? And so then it's important that we get down the skill of not only external or auditory listening, it's important that we get down the skill of spiritual listening. And so I want to share some things with you today to help you begin to develop the practice of spiritual listening, to develop the skill of spiritual listening. Developing the skill of spiritual listening is vitally important if you intend to live the life of your dreams. Now, a skill is a behavior that can be repeated whenever you need it. Are you with me? And so it's not a skill if you have to get lucky to do it. Walt Robinson, I can stand 100 yards out and hit a sand wedge on a green if the green is large enough and the wind is blowing right and my hands are properly positioned. If everything lines up, I can get lucky enough to do it. But luck and skill are not the same thing. Are you with me? A skill is something that you can repeat on demand. And so then the skill of spiritual listening is something that we have to develop so that whenever we need it, we can hear what thus saith the Lord. Are you with me? See, you don't want to have to get lucky to hear God. Get lucky at the club. Get focused when you're with God. Don't act like you don't know what I'm talking about. You know me. Hey, you take that wherever you need to take that. I am on some spiritual stuff. I've been sabbaticalized. And so when we have the skill gives us the ability that knowing about the thing does not give us. I'm going to say that again. See, there's a difference between having the skill to listen and knowing about listening. There's a difference between knowing that there is a silent place and knowing how to get to the silent place when the noise is happening. Are you with me? And so let's take the first point from our bulletin. Let's read it together. To listen, to make an effort to hear something, it means to concentrate, to give attention, or tune in. So now, to be clear, listening is our default position. We concentrate on and pay attention to whatever we want to. Yeah? The problem, as I see it, is that we don't always concentrate on and pay attention to that which is for our best and highest good. So we naturally concentrate and pay attention. The question is, Nathaniel, what do we concentrate on and pay attention to? By show of hands, how many of you in the last 2, 3, or 4 weeks has spent any time concentrating on or paying attention to or concerned about why in the world Derrick makes the decisions that he makes? Tell the truth. Who is Derrick? For those of you who know who is Derrick, he's the son on Power. Now, I just want to point something out. The energy and effort you spent in that does not get you closer to the manifestation of your dream. It's the same with gossip. It's the same with talking about other folks' business. It's the same across the board. So what we have to do then is begin to be able to focus our mind so that our concentration and our attention is consistently pointed in the direction of what we want to manifest. See, most people have no idea about the power that they can marshal when they bring their concentration to a head. But let me tell you something that I know about you. When you concentrate and give your attention to a particular thing, it can be your healing, it can be your finances, it can be your increase and expansion. When you give your concentration and attention to it, the world has to shift to align with what your mind is focused on. So it's possible that you are wasting creative capacity focusing on, concentrating on, paying attention to stuff that don't have nothing to do with nothing. Are you with me? So then what we want to be able to do is give our concentration and attention to those things that would facilitate the manifestation of our dream, yeah? Now, when it comes to the development of the soul, particularly the kind of development that we're talking about here, most people experience one of two things. They either experience the pain of discipline or they experience the pain of disappointment. Why? Because both cost you something. Whatever you choose to concentrate on either gets you closer to your walk with discipline and the manifestation of your good, or it gets you closer to the disappointment of you wondering why what you've been praying about is not coming to pass. And so what you have to do, what you've got to do is remember the choice to concentrate and pay attention always rests with me. Are you with me? So what do I want you to do? Put this in your notes. Put this in your notes. The first skill I want to help you develop, the first skill I want to help you develop is the skill of silencing the noise. You've got to be able to silence the noise. You've got to be able to silence the noise. You got to be able to silence the noise. Noise is any distraction that would interrupt your ability to experience the life of your dreams. Any distraction, whether it is internal or external, any distraction that prevents you from experiencing the life of your dream is noise. And some of us pay more attention to the noise than we do to the manifestation of our good. And so if I pay more attention to the noise, I will become further conditioned to the noise. Are you with me? There is a story about a Native American named Hiawatha who was walking with a friend downtown near the Sears Tower. And as they were walking, y'all laugh like that couldn't be a true story. As they were walking downtown near the Sears Tower, Hiawatha looked across the street and he said, "I hear a cricket." Now, you have to remember, if you've ever worked or lived downtown during noon, there are all kind of cars whizzing in through traffic. There are cabs screeching around corners. There are people walking, having conversations. The din of noise is loud in the loop. Is that right? And Hiawatha's friend said, there is no way you can hear a cricket. Hiawatha said, "I'm sure that there is a cricket." And so they crossed the street, and as they crossed the street, he went to this planter and he looked in this large cement planter and he lifted up a couple of the branches, and sure enough, under a couple of the branches sitting on a leaf was a cricket. Now, Hiawatha's friend said, "You must have amazing hearing, because there is no way I would have heard that. Your ears must be supernatural." And Hiawatha said, "No, my ears are not supernatural. My ears are just like your ears. The only difference is what I pay attention to." Keep going with me. And he said, "There is no way," Hiawatha's friend said, "there's no way I would have heard that." And he said, "You would have heard it. Let me show you what I mean." So Hiawatha went into his pocket and he took out as much change as he had. And he dropped the change on the sidewalk. And everybody within 20 feet of where they were standing turned around to see if the change that hit the ground was theirs. See, none of them heard the cricket, but they heard the money they thought they were losing. See, it all comes down to what are you listening for. See, if you're listening for the whispering of the still small voice, you will hear it like a cricket planted in a pot. As much traffic and noise is happening around you, but if you are only focused on the clanging change, you will miss the millions that are available for you. So the first skill I want you to develop is the skill of silencing the noise. You silence anything that would distract you from and interfere with your ability to live the life of your dreams. See, the noise is like a song playing on iTunes that's on repeat. It just keeps on a loop, playing. The thing is, it's influencing the way I think and the way I feel and the way I speak. So you got to be able to silence the noise. How do you silence the noise? You silence the noise, as we say, through prayer, meditation, and sitting in the silence. Are you with me? And so if you take your bulletin, the first point, prayer says that prayer is what? Prayer is communion with God. Meditation is what? And the silence is what? So prayer is communion with God, meditation is conscious thoughts on the aspects of God, and silence is a receptive state of mind one enters into so that the soul can listen to the still small voice within. Yeah? So let's just begin to unpack these just a little bit. So whenever you decide to enter into your prayer time, know that you are taking a moment to come apart so that you can focus your attention. Say, focus your attention. See, but it's not enough to quiet the noise. See, not only do you have to quiet the noise, you have to replace the noise with something, right? We say that nature abhors a vacuum, right? In physics, they call it plenism. It means that there can be nothing missing because the universe is always full. You just missed that. Oh, you just missed that. You just missed that. Rodney, they just missed that. If God is always filling up a thing, there can be nothing missing because even the thing that left must be filled with the influence and the perpetuation of God. So, though the dream has not manifested itself yet, and though you change your mind away from the thing, never believe that it is not full because it's always full with the presence that always is. Are you with me? And so if you understand how to use the law of your mind, you understand how to always think in accord with what is full. So it doesn't matter what's in your pocket. Ooh. See, the part that appears to be missing is still full of God's substance. It doesn't really matter what's happening in your body because the part that appears to be lacking health is still full of God's substance. It doesn't matter what happened in the physical manifestation of your relationship because the fullness of love is still happening. Come on with me. Come on with me. So then prayer is communion with God. And prayer is important because it takes our attention away from the noise and it points us back to God. See, prayer takes our attention away from the noise and it points us back to the one presence, the one power, God the good. And here is the beautiful thing about whenever you point your attention back to God, when you turn your mind back to God, the doorway opens and the good just starts to flow. The good just starts to flow. I'm giving it to you right now. You want to make sure you have it? Point your mind back to God and open it up so that the good can just start to flow. Whatever it is you need in your life, open your mind and point it back to God so that the good can just start to flow. Whatever the seeming need is, God has already filled it up. You just need it to flow. So prayer is pointing us back to God, and it opens our consciousness up so that we can be receptive. That's a good word right there, receptive. Because, see, sometimes we say we want it, but we won't receive it. It's kind of like wanting the water, but not wanting the wet. Right? You have to not only desire it, you have to be open to receiving it. And what prayer does, if you can refrain from taking the noise into prayer. Can I just unpack that for a little bit, Pat? What we sometimes do is, rather than letting our minds be pointed to God, we take the noise into prayer. Right? Meaning that whatever the external limitation was, we take the external limitation in and we ask God to transform it. But what the flow does is the flow simply works through the receptacle that is open. And so if my mind is stuck on the fact that I am not enough, then the flow only works through the mind that keeps saying it's not enough. See, God does not give me a bigger jug. Right? God simply says, open your mind and be. Because if I will open my mind is the receptacle that will receive the divine flow. But if I think, say think. If I feel, say feel. If I speak, say speak. Through limitation, then limitation is what the all-providing God fills me up with. I just gave it to you. I just gave it to you. Right? It is God working just as my consciousness is directing. So then my prayer is intended to turn me back to the truth. My meditation is intended to turn me back to the truth. Shakti Gawain said, I want to quote this. She said, each of us has a deep sense of truth. She was talking about meditation. She says, each of us has a deep sense of truth within us. She said, it's the guiding force that can lead us successfully through our lives. She said, but we spend most of our time looking outside of ourselves. How many of you are looking for somebody else to provide the answer to the question they know nothing about? She said, we spend most of our time looking outside of ourselves, and when we look outside of ourselves, she suggests that we lose contact with the Spirit, and then she goes on to say, when you lose contact with the Spirit, you break contact with the creative force. So then, if I know how to listen, then I can stay in the mind of the creative force. See, you don't need more of anything. You only need to use what you already have. You have more creative genius than you ever can use. You have more deep capacity than you realize. You simply have to use what you already got. So don't pray and beg God for no more of nothing. He already gave it to you, but you got to use what you got. See, I just told you, nature abhors a vacuum. A vacuum is also created when you don't use what you have. What kind of vacuum? The vacuum that can flush away what you don't need and fill you up with what you do need. You've got to use what you got. Are you with me? So then let me give you some things to meditate on. Meditate on the aspects of God. Put this in your notes. Meditate on the aspects of God. Put these words down. Write down life. Write down love. Write down wisdom. Write down power. And write down substance. Life, love, wisdom, power, substance. These are the 5 words I want you to practice developing the skill of meditating on. Are you with me? Why these 5 words? I'm glad you asked. Because life, we understand, is the idea in divine mind of activity, yeah? And we know that it works through us, through health and wholeness, and we know that it is the stream of energy. So if your dream is to have a body that is full of health, you want to let your mind be submersed in the idea that God is life. Don't meditate on the illness, meditate on the healing presence and power of God. Don't meditate on the difficulty, don't meditate on the pain, meditate on the healing, restorative power of God. Because it's the same way, but if you concentrate on pain, then pain will intensify. If you concentrate on healing, then healing will emerge. You have to put your concentration and attention on what you want. Are you with me? Yes. Why focus on love? Why focus on love? Because love is the idea in divine mind of universal oneness. And if you love a thing, the thing that you love must be attracted to you. I want some of you to hear this another way. If it's not attracted to you, don't try to make it be attracted to you. Now I want to get back, I want to come back up. See, whatever the good is you desire, Chester, you have to know how to love it before it manifests. See, I love this millionaire mindset that set in on me as I was on this beach in the Dominican Republic. Can I keep it 1,000 with you? See, because sometimes in the humdrum work of life, we find a way to put our dreams to sleep. Stuff that I knew I had a right to, but I just kind of put to the side. But when I was laying on the beach, it must have hit me like a wave on the ocean, and it let me know that there was no limitation in what was available to me. I just needed to open my mind back up so that I could walk in the glory that was. And so it shifted something for me. It shifted something for me. A switch went on. I'm like, whoa. You mean to tell me that with all my good teaching and all my good preaching, I don't like telling on myself. I like talking about your stuff. I don't like talking about my stuff. No, let me get off my stuff. It makes me uncomfortable. Well, I was talking about meditation. You get the point, though. You get the point. Next time. We say wisdom. I want you to meditate on wisdom. Wisdom is the idea in divine mind of orderly knowledge. Yeah? And we let it's manifested through us as intelligence, as intuition, as inspiration. Yeah? We can meditate on this. We can meditate on this. So when it seems like you are not clear, what you have to do is begin to meditate on wisdom. If you meditate on wisdom, you can get clarity, because a lack of clarity can be one of the major things that produces more noise. Are you with me? And so if I just allow myself to get clear on the inspiration, on the intuitive knowing of God, I can begin to see more clearly. Are you with me? And so wisdom is one of the aspects that I want you to develop the skill to meditate on. Power. Say power. Power is another aspect of God that you can benefit from meditating on. We say that power is the idea in divine mind of authority and dominion. And I've told you before, never let anybody make you believe that you have no power in a situation. You have all of the power, you have all of the authority, you have all of the dominion you need to stand up and be powerful in your life. You just got to be willing to do it. I like what they say, authority is 20% given and 80% taken. Take it. Are you with me? And then we meditate on substance, this idea in divine mind of perfect form. And I just want to give you one word to meditate on as you are meditating on substance. Take this word, write it down. That word is abundance. Write down abundance. When you meditate on the word substance, also meditate concurrently on the word abundance. Because God is an abundant God. Is that right? And so, as we enter the silence, as we prepare ourselves to listen, as we go into this state where we are receptive to the one mind, we have to be careful not to be like the 4 monks. See, oftentimes the challenge when it comes to entering into a meditative consciousness or entering into the silence is that we're still not able to silence the noise. And so we find ourselves a lot like these 4 monks who, as they had committed themselves to being silent for 2 weeks, on the first night, the candle that was lit started to flicker. And as the candle started to go out, the first monk said, "Oops." The candle went out. And the second monk said, "We're not supposed to talk." And the third monk said, "Why can't you two keep the silence?" And the fourth monk laughed and said, "Ha, I'm the only one who didn't talk." See, keeping the silence is not always easy, right? Sometimes you go in and the noise just accompanies you, right? But you have to develop the skill to quiet the noise, because God is not in the waves and God is not in the wind, but God is in the whispering of the still small voice. And you have to be able to quiet the noise, because if you can quiet the noise and give yourself over to hearing what thus said the Lord, you will hear exactly what you need in order to take your life and your dream and your living and your relationships and your finances and your health from where it is to where you deserve to have it be. But you've got to be able to listen to what thus said the Lord. The key to your prosperity, the key to your blessing, the key to the manifestation of your dream is in your ability to listen to God. God bless you.